What is the mindset of a protector? One thing alone can make the difference between failure and success: your mindset. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, security, and executive protection. Tune in every week where we look in the mirror to make real changes and learn how to achieve greatness by tapping into the Sentinel mindset. This episode is brought to you by The Arena. The Arena focuses on helping law enforcement and security professionals achieve their ultimate work experience, curriculum, and fitness goals. Visit thearenatoronto.com.
What's up, everyone? Today we have a very special episode. We are in the region of York at District Number 1 headquarters. This is actually a brand new building that has been around for almost 2 years. It's absolutely beautiful, but we are here today. It is February. In honor of Black History Month, we're going to be speaking to police officers to find a little bit about their story, why they do what they do. It's going to be great. Don't want to miss this. Join us as we walk in. What's up, everyone? Today we have another very special guest. We have Inspector Kolin Alexander. He is an inspector with York Regional Police, and we're going to dive into a story. Inspector Alexander, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, never better.
Amazing, amazing. Like, first of all, I have to say, let's just talk about, for those that are just watching for the first time, the white shirts. Obviously, it's a very different level of, I guess, uniform when it comes into leadership rank.
Yeah, so the white shirt really represents more of an senior officer level, if you will.
Yes.
So that's really what that represents.
Okay, nice, nice. So for yourself, one of the things I always like to talk about is how you came in. And I know you started your career with Hamilton, but before we get to that, what was your inspiration to say, like, I want to get into policing?
That's a very good question. I've always loved policing from a young guy growing up. So my mom was an immigrant and coming to the country, as well as my dad. And we started from humble beginnings. And I remember myself and my two other brothers, we went all the way. We were in school and we were all the way in the other side of the city, if you will.
Okay.
So basically, what had happened was. And I'm laughing because it's quite funny now I think back at it, because how many years ago that was. But the point being is that we would have lunch money and we'd have our bus fare.
Right.
So we actually ended up spending our bus fare and our lunch money, and so we didn't have any money to go home. And back then there was Toronto Police, 52 Division, I think is where it was. I was on University and I think Dundas area. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we went in there and we basically told half the truth, if you will. We basically said we lost our bus fare, X, Y, and Z. Anyway, they were nice enough. They drove us home, and they drove us. We lived all the way in the West End, and they drove us right home. So that was one of the first acts in terms of interaction with police. And I thought, wow, this, was pretty good. And certainly when we got home, though, my mom had this thing where she didn't want a police car coming in front of her home, quite frankly. And but that had happened, and when everything was all explained, it was a nice ending.
Right.
So yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, for the optics, exactly. It's like,
yeah.
No, so for yourself, as you're like getting more into it, what was the defining moment for yourself where it's like, I need to start going out and applying right now? Like, it looks like you kind of like had it instilled from a young age from some exposure, but what carried you through to pursue and say, I'm going to start applying?
I was an air cadet back in the day. I always liked the discipline. I liked the uniform. I liked the way the boots were shined and the deportment. And as a police officer, I'm part of I'm a protocol officer as well as part of the ceremonial unit at the time, so chief ceremonial unit, marching, if you will. Mm-hmm. But that was one of the things in terms of the uniform and how they carried themselves. But also, I remember at a young age too, police coming to the schools and Elmer the safety elephant, and the officers were always very nice, interactive, engaging. So that left a bit of an impression on me as well. And as I got older, I can tell you I got into DJing.
Okay.
And I still love DJing. It's one of my pastimes.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna probably just guess, based on our previous conversation, that you're probably like into soca quite a bit.
You know what? I'm into soca. My real love is old school, though.
Okay.
That's my love. My love is old school.
Okay.
But that being said, so music, and so I would be out quite a bit DJing, because as DJs, you're out late at night.
Right.
And I had a couple interactions with police, and some of them weren't too good, quite honest with you. You know what I mean? But there was some good interactions as well. So I saw like both sides, if you will. And I said to myself that this is something that I would like to do in terms of policing. Well, I want to make sure I do it the right way and do it. And when I say the right way, bringing a lived experience into the mix, if you will.
Yes.
So if I'm in an instance and I'm stopping somebody, I would be able to relate maybe to what they're saying or the story or whatnot. And I know sometimes when you're given an answer to a question, sometimes you try to see, well, is that believable? Is that true?
Right.
So I was able to, in my mind, be able to, help our community in a different fashion, bring some understanding, and certainly be able to shed a different perspective in terms of what our community, and times things that we are involved in, if that makes sense.
You know what's so amazing about what you're saying is that you're living proof for those individuals that may be having doubts about, am I someone that can get onto the service? To see someone like yourself, like they're almost going to mirror you, to see in uniform, I can do that as well. And I think there's a big bridge gap, right? Because people in the communities want to see themselves through the police service, right? So I think what you're doing and how you've been able to position yourself has created an inspiration for people, especially when you're in that position.
Well, thank you, and that is a bonus, quite frankly, and a very big bonus, quite frankly, because you do want to make a difference. You want to be part of that difference. You want to, you want to show people that all things are possible. If I look at, for example, just as an example, Barack Obama, right?
Yeah.
Barack Obama, first black president, and so now that barrier is broken, and so it's possible.
Right.
So within the community, I know there's challenges. I'm aware, I'm alive to that. But I try to be positive. And I believe that, getting on the right side of things and trying to make a difference. And because of me being a police officer, and my background, my lived experience, I've been able to do a bunch of different things that maybe traditional policing would not have entertained.
Right.
For example, I have mentoring programs. I brought my DJing into policing. I've been able to play at a couple events, the music aspect of it. We do cultural events, and I'm able to bring my lived experience, and I'm not just saying lived experience, but the authentic experience into policing. So, because let's face it, if you're really not a part of something, you can only try to mimic what you think you know, right? But when you're actually involved, then you can really truly bring an authentic sort of vision and actual contribution to can I say, in this instance, we're talking about policing.
Yeah, and you've been doing this for 24 years.
Yes, yes.
It seems like to me that you still really much enjoy the job.
I do, and listen, there's good days and there's some days that are a little more challenging, but that's like with life, right?
Right.
But you always look at my mind, the positive side of things, right? You can make the decision to go either way. Am I going to look at the challenges and just get consumed by that, or am I going to say, okay, you know what, this is a blip, and I've had some tough times. But that being said, though, here I am today, and I'm living proof that if you show a little perseverance, show a little resilience, and be at it, you can make it. You can achieve success.
Absolutely. One of the things that I read about your bio is that you are part of the equality division.
So I just recently got transferred, but I was part of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Bureau.
Yes.
Yes. So I did that for about 4 years.
Okay.
And during my time in there, it was a great experience. I was able to bring my lived experience into the space. I was able to connect with different community members, and I like being me. Okay. And this space allowed me to be me, allowed me to connect with folks. In some regard, like humanize the uniform.
Yeah.
Again, I'm alive to the challenges. I'm alive to the uniform in terms of, to some communities and some folks, there's some trauma attached to that. And there is some apprehension, and I'm aware of that. But what that allowed me to do, though, is to let them see me in that space, because I am who I am, and I being my authentic self.
That's right. That's right. And what I love about that is even some of the associations that we talked about as well, being part of ABLE, the Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers. One of the things that's amazing is for a lot of Black youth that, are growing up and trying to choose careers. Again, all these things are huge gravitational pulls for someone to say, he's doing it, I can do it as well. Like the whole thing about Barack Obama that you just said right now. So that's amazing that you're doing that. What would you say are one thing that maybe as a whole, maybe it could be done or is already being done to bridge a gap to try to get more inclusion?
I think really it's understanding. It's bringing knowledge to the space,
Yes.
and bringing that perspective to truly allow people to see things in a different light. So something may appear to be a particular way, but because you have in-depth knowledge or insight, if you will, now you can understand why or how it is that you can explain where someone else is coming from. You know, listen, I grew up in a home, single mom, 3 brothers. I had responsibility, most probably like some other families I know and community members. But my point where I'm going with that is that in terms of mentoring, and you talk about Barack Obama, that was an indirect mentoring for me to say, wow, holy smokes, you know, here's a guy that's I never thought I'd see a black president, quite frankly, in the United States of America.
Right.
You know, so that, you know, it further inspired me to say, hey, you know what, all things are possible, and I don't tend to be a role model. I don't go out there trying to be a role model, quite frankly.
It's just you, it's your DNA.
I just do what I do.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I can help someone along the way, then I can help. And I do it from my heart. I don't expect anything in return, because my mom always taught me this, God rest her soul, that if you're going to do something, you know, just do it. Don't look for any repayment. Don't look, because then you're not really doing it for the right reason. So I've always subscribed to that, and it served me well.
Wise words, very wise words. I noticed that you said you went to Seneca.
Yes.
Is that King Campus?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're fellow, I guess, alumni then, right there.
Okay, all right, all right. Very good, very good.
Amazing to Seneca. They have a good crop of students, as many police foundations. For those of people that are looking at getting to the service, I know you're with York right now, and from as we dig deeper with services, York seems to be an incredible service, incredible people. What would you say your experience has been with York? And for those looking to apply, obviously we're going to push them out to York. Why York?
You know what? I've had incredible support from York. I have been able to, while I was at York, or while I'm still with York, I obtained 2 degrees. When I joined police service, I only had law enforcement, a diploma from Seneca.
Yes.
You know, and I've since gone back and I've done justice studies through Guelph Humber, and I've also done my master's in leadership from Guelph University. And that was all done. There's a program with York in terms of them helping to subsidize some of my learning and continued education.
Right.
So the support has been incredible. I've been given opportunities, and I believe that when someone gives you an opportunity, you make the most of it. So that's what I try to do, and help others along the way. So the support has allowed me to support others and bring them along, and understand that it is important to help others. It is important to be given the opportunity to thrive.
Yes.
And I've been given that opportunity.
Okay. One thing I want to touch upon as we come to a close is the fact that you're an inspector. And a lot of people enter the service and they start off 4th constable, 3rd constable, 2nd to 1st. And many stay in that window in their careers as constables. But there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that have applied to get promotions and leaderships, and have also maybe have failed and may have been discouraged. And what I'd like to do is, because you are a living testament of someone that's in an inspector level, you went through a journey. I believe you became an inspector 2 years ago, was it?
Yes, that's correct.
For those that are looking now, these are people that are already in the service and want to also have aspirations to get in there, but they've hit some walls. What would you say to that individual?
That's a very good question. And I'll tell you that I've hit some walls as well. But you have to see where you want to go, okay? And you have to believe in yourself. And again, look around, and listen, it can be challenging, but you can't give up. And I say that because I'm involved in so many different things within our organization. I was involved as a co-chair of our internal support network. I was one of the leads in our anti-black racism working group. I'm on another police services board, anti-racism working group. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm really involved into the organization. I have a really good understanding of the vision and where they want to go and how they want to get there. So I'm able to navigate through being around and understanding what the organization's looking for. And the other thing I need to mention too is that, you know, we're an organization of almost 2,500 people, right? It's very competitive. We have a lot of great people, a lot of great talent within the organization.
Right.
So I believe also the fact that you keep at whatever it is you're trying to do, because, you know, I didn't get into policing on my first try, quite frankly. It took me several times to get in.
Right.
Right? And I've always been built like that. So if I don't get through to something, I'll continue to try. And then I'll go and find out, well, where did I go wrong, or where can I be improved, or improve, and I'll work on that. So the next time I come knocking again, I'll say, okay, I know you saw me last time, but here's how I am this time. You improved.
Yes.
Next level. Right? And you keep going, you keep going. And it's not for everyone, because I know it can be discouraging at times. But that's where I come in too, because I think I have some responsibility now for those folks that look like me, that are trying to ascend in the organization. There's some inherent responsibility within myself to try to mentor and help those.
Amazing. So if you were to give that one piece of advice to someone who is either trying to get on, because look, the one recurring theme is, it's almost like we need to fail. And I talked about this with Kim. You need to go into a level of failure to get a success. You need to go over that obstacle. It's going to define you. It's going to make you who you are. We need to have those experiences. It could be one thing that you can share to tell someone, and that could be from your own experiences of like, you fall down, get back up. What would that be in your own words?
Okay, I'll say this, because that's a very good question. So you mentioned Seneca College. When I applied to Seneca College, I never got in. I got my letter saying that, thank you very much for applying, and I was devastated. I was like, oh my goodness, because I saw that as my first step to the journey towards being a police officer. So I wrote a letter, and I remember the man's name was Stan Telesnik. I remember that name very well. I wrote a letter. He was the dean of Seneca College, and I basically begged for another opportunity. Maybe my score wasn't high enough or whatnot. Anyway, they granted it to me. I went, I rewrote, and then I got in.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
So I didn't take no for an answer.
Nice.
Right? So, reeling it back to policing now, what I would say to folks is, don't give up. Don't give up. There are times where things seem difficult, seem tough, and I think of the people that I look up to, like, people like Jordan, people like other sports figures, people that and you really, when you know the backstory, you realize behind the scenes, the amount of work that they have put in and sacrifice. So I think it goes to the same, anything you want to do. And the more you put in the time towards what you're doing, you become better at it.
Okay.
Right? And so then you just start doing it. You start living it. It's funny, I just conducted interviews of a staff sergeant, right? And I was on a panel. And there's some folks that were coming in, and there's some folks that were trying to, say, regurgitate a definition, right? And they were kind of stumbling a little bit. But then there are those that didn't really regurgitate it, but you could tell through their examples they're living it. So one may not be able to define something per se in the eloquent way, but they're living it, they're doing it. So that comes from the heart. When it comes from the heart, you're doing it for the right reason, and it just exudes that real sense of you're doing the right thing for the right reason.
Amazing. I'm very inspired by what you're sharing today. I think it's something that many need to hear, both those in the service and those looking to get in. And I really want to thank you for taking your time to do this. In the spirit of Black History Month, let's just close with, what's your favorite Caribbean dish? My
favorite Caribbean dish. I have many, to be honest with you. My dad's from Jamaica, my mom was from Trinidad, So on the Jamaican side, I love my oxtail.
Okay.
I love my oxtail.
Yes. You got to bring the price down on oxtail.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, right? But I love,
Okay, nice.
On the other side, I love a shrimp roti.
Okay, nice.
I love a shrimp roti.
You're making me hungry right now.
Listen, I'm getting hungry myself too. It's about lunchtime almost, right?
Amazing, amazing. Inspector Alexander, I really want to thank you for your time. Our goals are to ensure that anyone listening can draw from what you brought, and 100% I've been pulled in. I want to thank you for everything that you do. Your career to serve and to protect is something that I honestly much love, because it's something that I think a lot of people don't really understand just how difficult the job can be, and I want to thank you for what you do.
Well, listen, thank you, and you're most welcome. It's my pleasure, my honor to be able to share a little bit of me with you. And one thing I'll leave you with is that I know everyone has a story.
Yes.
Everyone has a story. And if you take the time to listen to this story, you'll be amazed to know that some of the different challenges that they have been through, and they in their own right are inspirations to others. So bearing that in mind, I thank you for taking the time to interview me and again share a little bit about myself, and hopefully I was able to shed a little light in terms of the profession, in terms of how it's impacted me. And who knows what the future holds, but I'm very positive, and I think the future is bright.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed that. For those of you wanting to get into YRP, it's yrp.ca. Go in the career section and start your journey. Have a great one, everyone. Take care.
Thank you for joining me in today's podcast. This podcast was created for protectors in the fields of law enforcement, executive protection, security, and anyone looking to level up their mindset. If you are learning from this podcast and you're enjoying it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Sentinel Mindset. That's a zero-cost way to support us. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast both on Spotify and Apple. And on both Spotify and Apple, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have questions for me or comments about the podcast or guests you would like me to consider on The Sentinel Mindset, please post all comments on YouTube. I do read all the comments. Please also check out our sponsors, thearenatoronto.com. The Arena was created to help all those in the fields of law enforcement, security, and all that achieve their fitness goals. I want to thank our producer Matthew Doyle and creative supports Jaslene Singh, who help me with this podcast every week. We value your feedback and are here to support you. Tune into the Sentinel Mindset every week, where we look in the mirror to make real changes and explore what it takes to achieve greatness in your craft.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.